Hello, film friends, friends of film, and everyone in between. Welcome to the Film Folklore Podcast. I am Jed Props, and wow, I have a full boat today. I'm so excited. I am joined today by Chris A.D.
Hello.
Zoe Props.
Yep.
Heather Ray Costumes.
Hey there.
And of course, Justin Sound.
Yo.
Greetings, everyone. How is everyone doing?
Fantastic.
Well, I'm so good.
I miss all of your faces. So I want to say real quick, we are in our new home, and thank you to the University of New Orleans. Exciting stuff coming.
Yeah, it's fancy up in here.
We're in a cardboard box on the bridge.
That's what I meant.
I Sharpied UNO on it. That makes it official.
Lakefront.
Our actual home where we live now.
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. I was thinking about getting another box to make it a two-story. But
A double wide box.
exactly.
Yeah, the fridge boxes, those are the best. They're big.
A camelback box.
I don't know. The first thing that popped in my head was a classic boxcar bum with like the hole in the hat and the finger gloves.
Stick and bindle.
But that's also the real estate agent that's going like, I have a lovely double wide box over here you guys can check out.
Yeah. Boxcar Willie.
Yeah. So before we get into our exciting and fun and lovely guest today, because you haven't been here in a while, Chris, I actually have some questions for you that have kind of cropped up over some episodes earlier this season. You ready for a little Q&A?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Sweet. All right. So question one, how do you play in two bands simultaneously?
So, I got the bass drum on my back, and I operate that with my foot, and then the guitar, and then the kazoo, and then the whole thing. It just works out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the Bugs Bunny kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
And we want to know who you might have pissed off to end up in manure, not once, but 3 times. We only heard manure, by the way, and so we were wondering if you could elaborate on what kind of manure we're dealing with here. Maybe are we talking
Human.
fertilizer, straight animal shit? What kind of animal?
Well, the reason why I ended up in the manure was because of that goddamn Marty McFly. 3 times. And it's just regular horse manure.
Okay.
The classic,
Uncut.
When you were getting...
Is the DeLorean okay?
I don't know. I never get to be in it because of that goddamn Marty McFly.
When you are exiting the manure, are you making like a tree and getting out of there?
I am. Yes. Yes, I am.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm
We
glad
started
we could...
recording way too late in the evening, I think. You're in for a ride, y'all.
I'm glad we can clarify all this, and that was our intro. So anyway, here we go. So no segues needed. We are going to get right into it. We have a lovely guest today, and let's welcome Justin Special Effects. Justin, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey.
All right. Hi, Justin. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey, happy to be here.
All right. So we're just going to dive right in. As the title might suggest, you are a member of the Special Effects Department.
I am.
So tell us, what is your typical position now, or typically in the last few years, since we've sort of been in a chaotic state lately?
Yeah, it varies from time to time. I've done everything from coordinating to like shop foreman positions. Kind of my favorite position that I've been kind of sticking to lately is kind of in between building gags in the shop and then going to set with the gags and kind of like being like the effects gag overseer to an extent. So kind of going to meetings and all that kind of stuff. So kind of like more of a...
But then it's cool you get to see your work.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. Because that's kind of a rule we have. If you build the gag, you go to set with the gag. So then I'll kind of fill that position more, because coordinating's fun and all, but it's a lot of stress.
Well, that really makes sense, though. I mean, you should be going with, you know how to work it for just safety issues,
exactly.
too.
Yeah, it's just, if something goes wrong, well, you built it, you were there the whole time,
right.
You can fix it.
You know what's up.
Yeah, you can't explain everything to somebody.
Totally.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of props, where we hand it off to set, we tell them how it works, and then
Good luck.
set says, this is not how it works, how we described,
Right.
and then you're not available when they call.
Yeah.
But
And then you call effects to fix it.
Is someone from effects on set? So if someone on the street was to come up to you and say like what exactly does effects do? Do you have like a nutshell response or?
The kind of nutshell response, besides like the explosions and all that stuff like that, it's if anything on camera moves or is not moved by a person or does something that's kind of an effects thing, besides all the other like kind of stuff we do. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's like a nutshell response,
Yeah,
And a lot of people mix up, myself included, for a very long time, special effects and visual effects.
Yes.
And so, the difference being yours is tactile and practical.
Practical, yeah.
And visual is digitized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not real.
It's not real, man.
Now, and so like for example, it's explosions. Like that's the one that everybody assumes or knows.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
And I'm just listing off a few different things for anyone listening, but fire would be under y'all. Squibs popping off, whether it's on a person or
on a wall, on a car, on a person, on a tree.
And then there's what within our world we say atmosphere, but
Yes.
Can you explain atmosphere a little bit?
So atmosphere can kind of encompass a few things, but like wind, rain, and smoke. Normally, when you're saying atmosphere, you're talking about smoke, and smoke could be practical smoke as if something's on fire, but then there's also just your general atmosphere that can just kind of add the ambiance, and it's usually it's kind of a lighting effect to an extent. That's
It filters. It's like a filter.
It softens the lens, and then it adds like those like shafts of light to the different scenes, and kind of adds a little more like
The
dramatic
magic.
effect. Yeah, if it's exterior, it could be the smoky background, or it could be all sorts of things.
Is one of the reasons I brought it up is because, especially talking about smoke and haze, like practically every project is going to have it at some point.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, and there's always an effects guy somewhere in a corner.
Yeah.
Often being yelled at for not that corner, the other corner, and you're just trying to be off camera, and then you have the machine, and you have your little wafting fan, and then there's inevitably a DP that will talk to you as if you can control it.
Oh yeah.
With like the most magical precision of
Right.
like take it to a 6, as if you know what's a 6.
Yeah, exactly. What's the scale?
Yeah. How are we judging?
Where are we right now?
But if you can speak to that a little bit, because it's one of the most common things, but it's also maybe one of the most delicate things, I guess.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And doing this for a while, that's also can be one of the most stressful things you're doing, especially at nighttime when you're at the mercy of the wind. And some people get that, and some people don't, because it's inevitable too. Smoke will be perfect. The DP's happy. The director's happy. It looks awesome. And then they say rolling, and everything goes away, and they're looking at you like, "What's going on, man?" And you're like, "Obviously, the wind's blowing. Like, what do you want me to do?"
Felt that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Do you feel that?
Yeah, exactly. The trees are, like,
how many times have you heard more smoke, more smoke, more
Jeez.
smoke, more smoke, too much smoke?
too much smoke, too much smoke. Yeah, they just turn it to 100. What do you got? Okay, if you want it, and boop, and then like, this is crazy. What is all going on? Yeah, they don't know what they want until they see it, and that's also part of the job is kind of interpreting what they're saying, because they might say, "I want a 10," and you're like, "No, that's crazy," and you just kind of tell the guy on the walkie like, "Hey, let's bring it up 10 points or something," like.
Is there an 11th notch?
There is on some, yeah.
So for you, of all the different aspects of the effects world, do you have like your personal favorite things that you like to do?
Kind of coming up, I was kind of the pyro guy for a lot of stuff that just kind of just happened. Like, it wasn't my choosing, just kind of, I was good at that, and I kind of stuck to that. But I mean, I do a lot of, besides the pyro stuff, I'll do a lot of like the kind of, I call them like gaggy gags. Like, we got guys who can weld and build all these cool things, and I'll help out that stuff. But like when it's something simple, like, oh God, what was that show? Troop Zero, I think it was.
Oh yeah, okay.
They needed it was like 10 kids walking in a circle, and they all peed their pants at once. And it was like,
It happens.
It happens.
That's where I know you from. That's the one. Yeah, I remember that day.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, this is a Justin gag. And it was like I had to figure out, I made like 10 little backpacks with air solenoids and everything in them, and they hit a button on their wrist and they pee their pants. So it's like things like that or stuff I enjoy doing. It's like kind of weird little things I do a lot, you know.
Okay. I feel like because we've talked about it recently, like a 70s movie, they would just scare the shit out of the kids.
They would just pee
no
their
effect
pants.
needed.
Exactly.
Or you guys drink a gallon of water.
Yeah.
Okay.
No
And then we're
bathroom
gonna
breaks.
Now
bring
drink
this
another
convicted
gallon of
Recipe.
water.
rapist.
Okay, rolling.
And now here's some coffee right before we roll.
Right.
So some of this stuff also requires certifications and things.
It does, yeah.
For good reason. Can you go into that a little bit as far as like maybe a little bit about the process to get some of the certifications, and are they specialists within the department, or do several people try to get some of these?
We kind of usually try to have anybody who's on the crew who's interested in doing pyro, we encourage them to get their license. And it's kind of generally, it's you have like an ATF federal license, you have a state license, and then depending on the city, like the city of New Orleans has a license with the fire department. In the state of Louisiana, you don't have to have the ATF license, but you do need to have work under someone who has it. So like my license, my state license is through my boss's ATF license, and then the city of New Orleans is kind of the same thing. You got to have the state license to have the city license, and then kind of thing. So yeah, we encourage most of the guys, if they want to do that, which most people that come into the effects department want to do that. And if it's somebody who's, not that any of our guys aren't trustworthy, but some people are just better at it because it's an attention to detail thing. You got to like know that kind of stuff. So yeah, we encourage the people to get it. So there's.
So when you get your certification for pyro, does each specialty have its own certification? Do you need certifications for
it's kind
different
of
things?
It's kind of different because like these licenses existed before the movies were here, but they were all for in the state of Louisiana, they were for demolition and mining. And when the movies kind of started, it was like, okay, you guys want to do explosives, you got to have this license.
So it's the same license.
Same license.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in order to get the license, you go take a 16-hour, 2-day class, and then you take a test, and then you apply for the license, and then you get the license. And
is there practical stuff on there?
No,
really?
It's just you kind of sit in a little room, and a guy explains a lot of stuff, and everything's explaining and more deals with the mining stuff, and he knows that. He's aware of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's not really movie-related stuff, but then a few years ago, I forget how it was, we actually started teaching a class for the ATF so they could see how movie explosives and stuff work because they just don't have any
That's
idea.
smart.
Yeah.
So I never taught the class. We just something like my boss and everybody set up, and we would go and do demonstrations for the ATF, and they would bring in their field agents and all the guys involved with that, so they could see what all that was going on. Because you get inspected with the ATF every 4 years, every 2 to 4 years, it depends, and they'll come in and they're looking at stuff that they've never seen before because stuff we use isn't the same products that a mining company or would use, so we would kind of train them to know what they're looking for and understand what we do and how it works.
Did you do the pyro gag on Sinners?
Which
Were
one?
you there? The one the when they went into the barn,
The burning roof.
the person on fire, the people on fire.
No, I didn't do that one. I did some prep and we did a lot of testing for the roof, the burning roof.
Got it.
And then the fire tornado, which was one of the coolest things I've been a part of. But I wasn't on set for any of that stuff. I just helped out in the shop figuring that out.
Yeah, because I was only on set when we had big stunt days. So I was at the office, back and forth to your office, like bringing things for squibbing.
So we can,
and like all the fire, like costumes for the fire gag. Because a lot goes into that. Like I learned a lot about.
Oh yeah, we had guys doing it.
The different materials that are necessary, and if you want, it was super interesting to me. Because I've done little things here and there, but not like full body on fire inside a building kind of thing, So, because you have to have the special gel and So, if just for my own benefit, really, selfishly. I don't know. I would love to see like the process that you go through with that kind of thing.
Yeah, because we'll get the wardrobe and we'll use different products to fire retardants,
And everything has to be cotton.
Cotton's preferred,
and
very
natural
much, yeah.
fibers, because if it is not, if it's synthetic,
It'll just
it's
melt.
plastic and it will melt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's crazy the different things we use to treat everything is, you'll have a shirt, you'll treat it, let it dry, treat it usually about 3 times, and you'll burn it. It's fine. Same stuff we use on like the sets, on the wood and the walls and everything. You treat everything, and it's kind of crazy when you're doing it because you'll be in the room, there's fire everywhere, and then we turn off the propane, and those spot fires, and you put it out, and nothing's really burning.
It is really amazing because you do put the like on the people, the protective gel on the people, like, and on the costumes. That it really does retard the flames. I mean, like, it does its job, because I mean, I just expect it to be in tatters and cinders, and it's just really gross and sticky and wet. That's
Can you say retardant? I'm kidding. But you do bring up a really good point, Heather Ray, because kind of talking a little bit about crossover, effects is definitely one of the departments that has a lot of crossover with other departments.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of going with the example that you were going with, like, for example, like if we extend what you're saying, like let's say that they had a backpack as well. Well, so now the props bag that's on the person also has to get sprayed down and everything. And this is just a fire example, of course, but if you had to say, Justin, like typical departments that you pretty much every show that you feel like you're interacting with, like what departments would you be saying?
I mean, honestly, I would say everyone but catering. Like, honestly, like you'll deal with
accounting doesn't count.
That's not true. You got a big fire day. Somebody's got to bring the marshmallows.
That is true.
So if you're telling me it's crafty, it's crafty. But I don't know.
Yeah, because you'll need to, especially
that's crossover in itself.
Yeah. Someone's got to bring the Graham crackers and the chocolate and everything.
So like. There would be, I'm trying to think of some other examples, like maybe construction has built a specific stage, a set on stage, something logistically, and but y'all have maybe there's a controlled breakthrough, maybe, we'll say it's an action sequence, and like somebody gets thrown through a wall kind of thing. So that's something that has to be coordinated between construction and effects as far as like, the positioning of that wall and everything. And of course the production designer's involved.
Yeah, we did on, I coordinated No One Will Save You. And there was a big scene where the girl gets thrown through a wall by the alien. And, it was
Spoiler.
I remember that day on set too.
And like, so it was like, in prep, it was like, the girl goes through the wall. Okay, great. And normally something like that would just be some drywall. We'd score the back and we'd send her through and it would look great. But for this movie, as we got to talking, like on the scouts and everything, it was, how old is the house? Well, the house, it's an old farmhouse or whatever it was, so it wouldn't have drywall. So then I got to work with production designer. Like, what do you think it looks like? Well, it's, what is it called? Slate and plaster or... can't remember what it's called. It's basically wood strips with a little space, and then they plaster over everything.
Okay.
So she would be going through that wall. So that's a totally different look.
Right.
So then it's like, okay, so this is what it looks like. So then we, make a test to show them what our idea is, and they love that. Okay, great. So now it's, all right, so the next step is, because you can't just have the breakaway wall on the set all the time, because obviously it might break. So then it's like, get with construction. Okay, what are the diameters of the wall? How big do we need to make it? And sometimes things like that, construction might just build the wall. But for this instance, they didn't feel comfortable building the wall because they just didn't. So we had her build it. So we, they gave us a frame. We put balsa wood studs. We cut a bunch of balsa wood strips. We made a plaster mixture that was weaker than it would normally be. And we floated it and then passed it over to the construction. Construction paint department paints it. Construction helped us put it in, and then on the day, we sent it through. So, and then obviously stunts were involved with that too, because it was a stunt person, and they actually, she didn't just jump through it; they pulled her through it.
Yep, she was
And,
harnessed.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. It was
So something
Yeah, it
like
was
that,
really cool.
though, do you only get to make it once and then on the day
Oh, no.
she crashes? You know what I mean? Like, how are you
Yeah.
like you're testing that first. So obviously you're doing that with like before painting
Yeah.
it and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Right?
So
Kinda
with
thing?
that, we did like our own test in the shop where we made a mock-up, and one of our guys just kind of jumped through it to show it, and then we made another test for the stunt department to test, and then on the day, I want to say we had 3 made. I don't know if it was 3 or 2. But yeah, you obviously have to have a backup plan or something. in
Yeah,
case
triples
something
is
goes wrong.
good.
Exactly.
Triples is best.
But we got it on the first take.
Yep.
So that was actually
That's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a record, but it's a record for me. That movie, I'm pretty sure everything we did was a oneer.
Wow.
We were prepared for everything, obviously, but somehow it all worked out that every big gag we did was a oneer. It was just crazy.
That is rare.
Someone
Yeah.
will save you.
Exactly. The effects gods were shining down
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I've talked
Yeah, we
about
had
it.
a lot of extra costumes for that too. We, I was like,
All kinds of
oh,
stuff.
okay, here we are.
I've talked about it before, but Twig and I on Daddy's Home, that was our like Club Med for props
Yeah.
movie where everything just went
Smooth.
oddly smooth. Like you're almost uncomfortable.
You're waiting
It's
for
going
something to go
exactly.
wrong. Yeah, that
Everything
was that
got,
movie.
everything got simplified on the day.
Uh-huh.
Everything, and
Every now and again, you get one of those where it's just a little gift for all
Yeah.
the nonsense from all
Yeah.
like the last 10.
it was so pleasant. And
15.
you're hearing the talking heads, the adults or the above line, whoever you want to call them, but what they're saying is sensible. And you're going like, what parallel universe have I entered where every single person has like a good head on their body? But yeah, I mean, like when that happens, it kind of like what you were alluding to too. It's like we all deserve it, but also when it comes, you're just such in shock because you don't normally
can't
get this.
believe it.
Well, I feel like
Exactly.
those instances really come. I mean, it really comes together when the above the line people are cooling, giving people what they need to do
Yeah.
their jobs, and
100%.
like there's just this
Yeah.
like mutual respect and admiration,
Yeah.
and then good things happen.
You're crazy
Oh my
talking.
god, I know it's wild stuff, but
So I want to pivot us a little bit and talk about the department as far as like positions and breakdown, and I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, but the breakdown is a little similar to construction's breakdown, right? Like you have a coordinator on the top, which I think we've mentioned before, but sometimes that can be confusing because coordinators sometimes are department head and sometimes are not, depending on the department.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have a supervisor. If it's a big show, you'll have a supervisor and then a coordinator sometimes, or you'll have a coordinator. And like when I was describing my position earlier, my credit sometimes will be co-coordinator. So
Kind of like a line producer UPM relationship. that
yeah.
I still don't 100% understand.
Right. I have no idea because sometimes you have a line producer, sometimes you have UPM, sometimes you have both.
I believe Chris, didn't he say? I think when we started the podcast, I think if I remember correctly, Chris said my only goal in this is to find out what the fuck a producer does.
I still don't know. I never will. No one ever will.
It'll take us a minimum of 10 seasons.
Yeah.
We could have had several
they're
producers on
not
by
going to
then.
come on because then they're going to have to explain it, and they don't know
Exactly.
either.
Well, no, that's the whole point is that they don't do shit, and then they just have to fess up. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Tell me what you do.
Well, I can only
And,
speak for me,
They
but-
never actually respond to that.
They have notes.
There are some good ones out there. I want
I'm
to
a
say
professional
there are some good ones out
obstructionist. I
there.
have
Straight like
notes.
that. Yeah.
That worked
Correct.
so well. Everyone's happy and is ready to move on. Let me come in with my notes so I can justify my existence.
Like someone's got to be there to take the credit,
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all it is.
My idea. My idea.
So going down from the coordinator supervisor, would a foreman?
Yeah, you usually have a supervisor, coordinator, co-coordinator, depending. Then you'll have a shop foreman, and then you'll have a set foreman, and then you kind of have your techs, which is kind of all the lower line. And
gang bosses if it's big enough, right?
yeah, you'll kind of have that. We don't usually have those kind of titles, I guess,
Right.
but you kind of have that. It kind of just happens. You kind of
Right.
have one guy who's like, okay, you're in charge of this. If it's a big enough show, Yeah.
And then, like you said, you go down to techs, and to be clear, no PA spots.
No, I was actually one of the last effects PAs. I think. I don't know. It was when I started, I was an effects PA. And then I don't remember the reason. I think it was just because of the things we do and deal with, just became, I don't know where this rule came from, if it was a union thing or whatever. But it was just like no PAs because they could be considered unqualified,
Right.
They shouldn't.
I think that's smart. And yours, I mean, you're dealing with some really potentially dangerous things.
Yeah, and
you
even when I was a PA, it was kind of like you're not allowed to touch tools. You can clean up, you can do this stuff, and then after being there for a while, they're like, "Oh, this guy's not an idiot." Okay, and then
Which that's one, without going too far down that rabbit hole. That is one of the difficult things about departmental PAs is that it kind of depends on the particular department of the particular show on how that PA is being treated. Are they being abused? Are they being treated correctly? Right. Where it's like you're here to learn, but you also got to know where the lines are. And that can vary, obviously. And like I was a props PA. That doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. And in Atlanta, I was doing a show, and we were talking about trying to figure out how to get extra staffing because we were getting all this flack about, not allowing us to have more people. And so we're like, well, maybe we could do a props PA. And then at first it was the UPM going like, I don't think there is a props PA. And I was like, no, there definitely was. Like I can vouch for that one. Yeah. And then they're like, well, maybe call the union. So then I'm calling 479, and the BA at the time was going like, there's no such thing as a prop PA. I'm like, again, I don't know. I mean, it's weird because I did it.
My IMDb says differently.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say you're right, and then I want some retro paychecks from Ray. Where I was personally delivering sunglasses to Jamie Foxx. I'm pretty sure that's a craft violation. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's silly because it's like that because of that abuse is also why we don't have those kind of things much anymore. So it's harder to get your foot in that door to try and do it. But at the same time, for reasons that we've just stated, that's also why we had to get rid of a lot of that stuff. Yeah. So let's now, pivoting yet again, I want to take a step back and talk Justin.
Oh boy.
Kind of going back into your own past, like what got you into film? Did you go straight into special effects? Were you eyeing the industry as a career path? Did you accidentally trip backwards into the industry?
I kind of accidentally tripped in backwards to it.
It's one of the ways.
I went to college. I was at Delgado, kind of just doing stuff. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. My guidance counselor from high school was actually the counselor at Delgado, and he knew me and my mom and stuff. And one day he saw me in the halls. He's like, "What are you doing here? Like, what's your plan?" And I was like, "I don't know." And took me to his office. We started chatting and kind of going over like what could I choose as a career path, and I chose television production.
Okay.
Just because it sounded cool, whatever. So I started doing that. I got really into like editing, and I graduated from there and ended up going to Southeastern and pursued communications with a minor in film. And then people ask, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I would say, working in movies would be cool. Never in my life did I think I would do it. It was just my answer when you're in college and people ask you what you're doing, whatever. And my buddy graduated a semester before me. He started working on Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and I graduated. I guess he had started when they were still prepping because he was an office PA, so he started early on. And I graduated, and he called me up. He's like, "Hey, man, you want to work on a movie?" And I was like, "Sure. Like, what do I got to do?" And he had befriended the shop foreman on that movie, and they were looking for a PA guy to sweep the floors, do just all that kind of work. And I actually at the time had no clue practical effects, didn't know anything about it. And I assumed when he said special effects that it was a VFX job. So I was like, yeah, sure, let me go interview for this. And I showed up like all dressed nice with a button up. I thought I was going for a job interview, and like it was
you thought you were going to be a computer guy.
I was like, an office job, and like a respectable thing. And I show up to the warehouse on, what was it, Thayard Avenue in Algiers.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking at this place, and I'm like,
shit.
What is this? Like
I
a
made
movie?
a mistake.
Yeah, like a movie's
I'm about to disappear
here?
and never be seen again.
Yeah. I'm like, this can't be the right place. And I call the guy I'm supposed to be meeting. He's like, yeah, come inside. I'm like, again, walking in, and they were just starting prep, so it's an empty warehouse. I'm like, this cannot be right.
This is where I die.
I go in the office and I talked to Bob Willert, who's a movie legend in the effects world. He was the shop foreman, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, It's like, do you understand what this job is? It's kind of a dirty thing. You're going to be like, are you into that kind of stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think I could do that, sure." And then, sure enough, like, actually, I was standing there, and my boss, mentor, owe him everything, Matt Kutcher, walked us in the door.
Good old Matty.
And he sees me, and his first words to me was, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And I was like, "Oh, no." And then I showed up and started working and, did it. I don't even know.
That's awesome. For people listening that aren't familiar with that area, just imagine a very sketch area and a very rundown, shady warehouse.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I wasn't really joking when I was saying like you can disappear and never be seen again.
Oh,
it
yeah.
looks like that from the outside. Like a lot of our film stuff looks like that.
Oh, yeah.
That you're like
A lot of the stages around here.
yeah. And also, just to be clear, when you were young, like a child, you weren't like completing part of the McDonald triad, right? You weren't starting fires or blowing up anything as a.
I mean, to an extent. We
Okay.
used to go camping a lot, and that was like my favorite thing when we go camping. I'd start fire, not start fires, but the
A lot of effects
campfire.
people have gone missing, and I want to talk to you about that. It's interesting how you've grown in the department.
Yeah.
No, but that's kind of one of the things that we explore when we're interviewing on this, is because we're always talking about how there's not one like right way or wrong way to get in. It's just it's amazing how many different ways there are to kind of find your way in. Kind of starting to wind us down a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about special effects. We've been kind of dancing around it, but it's one of the most technically skilled departments out of necessity. And you need to know a lot of precise things, especially when you're talking such as pyro, like the math's got a math.
Right,
kind of
right.
thing. And just to make a joke about Zoe and myself, like we're the winging it department. That's what props is good at. But part of that, it's not just the functionality, but also the safety as well. And I wanted you to speak a little bit to the safety side of it, and including like inside of the department. Like maybe you'll have like personal slogans, creeds, mottos, things that you hammer into people
Right.
When it comes to various safety.
Our favorite thing to say is it's never going to work. But that's like our, break a leg kind of thing. It's if there's a big thing about to happen, you have to say it. Someone's got to say it, whatever.
Ours is we do it right because we do it twice.
There you go. But no, for us, testing is a big deal. And I've never really worked for other effects companies or people. I've dabbled with, like, I've worked with other guys but never for other guys necessarily. And so I don't know how other guys do it, but for us it's testing. So anything we're doing, we're testing it. We're if it's an explosion, even if it's like I don't know, you blow up a lot of cars,
Yes.
even if it, they're all different to an extent. So you already know kind of what's going to happen. But if they want something specific or they want something that's out of the norm, we test it, and it's always, if the, fireball is happening here and they want the guy to stand here, we're going to set that up and do it exactly that way before it even goes to set, And if it's like a motion base or, I don't know, something else that's got to be repeatable, and we build it and okay, it kind of works. Okay, this is good. We're going to test it and, see if it breaks. Like we'll do that a lot. You might make something that's super cool and it's working, but we're going to test it all day long to know what's its limits, test it till it breaks. And then, okay, well, we're good, and the I can't think of the word, but like what it can do. Yeah, exactly. Like it can, it's got to be able to work all day. It might have to work for 2 days. You don't know that. So testing is a big thing we do, especially for the safety and everything like that.
It's like not stuff that you're just throwing together. It has to have some endurance.
No, you'll have some things on set where they're like, "Can you do this?" And if it's, you kind of pull back on other things you've done to know that, because
it's always a case by case basis.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's in every single department. There's
Oh,
never
yeah.
just like one way that
Yes.
everything's done each time because the situation is always different. You have to conform to
Exactly. You just
that,
got to kind of
so-
rely on the knowledge you have of
Correct.
everything you've done and know that, oh, yeah, I can do this. Hold on.
Or just like think way out of the box and be like, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's throw this spaghetti at the wall and see
Yeah.
what sticks, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
Like, yeah, for sure. I would, yeah.
Effects test videos, I love.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime I get to see them,
They're my favorite.
obviously I see them typically if it involves props, but if you want to imagine like an amateur YouTube video, and it's kind of like the redneck hold my beer scenario, but it's actually working.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting hurt. You're
Right.
seeing something effectively work,
Yeah.
but it has all the elements and setup of that.
Yeah, that's a kind of another one of my favorite things to do is to shoot the test videos because we always like to have, they explain to us what they want to see. We, talk about it, we figure it out, and then we'll film it and we'll send it to them. And then we get, questions. Can this happen? What is it? So it's a conversation piece. So that's a big thing we do too in the testing is we make videos and we'll try to edit them and actually do them proper because you're making a film. You got to be able to prove you can do it,
I
make a
love
film.
getting the test
Oh, they're
videos
so much fun.
beforehand.
They're
They're,
great.
they're so much fun for squibs and like fire and all this
You
stuff.
got to have
I
a
mean,
good
it's so-
soundtrack. That's a key
yeah.
thing,
I'm
like
going to
it.
tell you a story off the record when we're done here.
I like it when Hava is acting.
Oh my god,
It's always very, very good.
I got a really
Hava.
good Hava video.
Shout out to
my
Hava.
God.
I'm sure.
I don't think you can have a bad Hava video.
know,
That's right.
No.
He's a great test subject.
Yeah.
It's always a highway to
because
the
he
danger zone
was
playing too in
a
his
test
videos.
subject.
It's weird. So it's always highway to the danger zone playing in his videos too, which is
Bon
interesting.
Jovi, Shot Through the Heart is that's the go-to for the squib. Come on, baby, light my fire is another good one.
That makes sense. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Man, what was the biggest gag you've ever done, and was, if that was not the hardest gag, also what was the hardest gag you've ever done?
There's so many.
No pressure, man.
I would say.
I hate when people ask me.
Right. One of the hardest gags I did was as far as being like the coordinator. So it's like the buck kind of stops with you was probably on No One Will Save You. We had a gag where the aliens are taking over the house and the girl's freaking out. And she runs from the kitchen through the living room and she's running for the door to get out of the house. And they wanted to see the front door just blow off the hinges and fly and hit her in the head, and she goes out. And it's a big plot point because she
Was
gets
that the one
knocked
where
out.
the fridge falls on her too? Is that that
No.
whole sequence? That was a different thing.
No, that was the start of the sequence.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
we had the fridge
That was
door.
wild. Y'all did you bang up
What did
job.
we
No,
have?
no pun intended.
We had
That
the
was-
fridge door slamming open and shut. We
Yeah,
had all
that's what it
the
was.
dishes moving, things rattling.
It was really
while
cool
she's
to
running,
watch.
the light bulbs are exploding
Yep.
and different things.
Yeah,
And,
y'all killed it on that.
That was
Killed
a
it.
hard one. The door coming off the hinges was hard because it's like she's running, she's got to hit a mark, and the door's got to hit a mark as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the door can't just keep going. So to me, it was like, how do you make this not look just dumb? Like you can't just blow the door because she's got to run towards it. So it was a lot of testing, and we ended up doing like a.
3 young girls were lost in the testing.
Never to be seen again. We did like an
We'll talk about
I-beam.
that.
What was it? It was an I-beam we attached to the ceiling, and we had like a trolley on it. And as she's running, we pulled the rope, and we had some pyro on the doors to make it like the hinges and everything
pop.
blow. Yeah. And then the door kind of flies forward, and she runs into it. And we tested a lot. We did rehearsals with stunts, and on the day we got it on the first one, and it was just like.
I was kind
everyone-
of bummed because I wanted to see it again, but I was happy for y'all. But selfishly,
It kind of happened, and it was like everyone got quiet because it was like, did it work? Like, how did it look?
yeah, Brian, our
and then
director, was just like,
he
"Oh
was
my
just like,
God,
that looked
it's
amazing."
Yeah,
You know,
he's
yeah.
so awesome. That
That was
guy.
fun.
So getting us out of here today, want to thank you again for coming
yeah.
by. It's awesome having you here. So there's a typical thing we like to ask guests as we close out to offer advice to listeners. It can be anything you want to impart. Could be life advice, could be film advice, could be effects advice. It's kind of open mic for you.
I would say to people, given the current state of things, I don't know if you want to get into film, but if you do get into
Don't go into film.
if you do really want to do it, and you get kind of your chance, you gotta kind of just go in it full force, because that was me when I started. It was like, I don't know if I really want to do this or not. Like, this is kind of crazy, but it was like seemed pretty cool, whatever. So it's just kind of I don't know. I guess just work harder than you think you need to do. Maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. I don't know, but just kind of, I don't know, give it your all, I guess.
And be open, just to add on that. Like, be open, know that you don't know shit. Don't act like you do, because people get hurt, and,
also just kind of be nice to everybody you meet, because you never know who's going to be your next boss.
Yep.
I've seen a lot of PAs come up, and next thing you know, they're the second AD, they're the first AD, and you're like, I remember when, you were the PA getting the out sheets at the end of the night,
Yeah, we have a local UPM that I met as an office PA in 2008, and that was my first assistant prop master job. So having that all come full circle, going like, oh, you're the, wow. Well, congratulations.
Exactly.
Good to see you again.
Shout out Markava.
Yeah.
Shout out Markava.
No, that's great advice, and absolutely true. I mean, that's the stuff that sifts through and survives in the industry.
Yeah.
It's the hard work, it's the perseverance, it's the good attitude. It sounds so silly, but at the end of the day, it's true. I mean, all of us sitting at this table, that's pretty much why we're here, except for Chris.
Yeah.
But other than that,
he's a Nepo baby.
Shout out Markava.
Thank you so much, Justin, for stopping by.
Yeah,
I'd love to have you back, because we could talk to you for a long time.
Sure.
But I hope to see you on set soon, brother.
Oh,
Cheers.
gosh.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.
All right. Special effects, always a cool department, right? They get to blow stuff up. That right there is enough to be cool. So what do y'all think? What did y'all think about the interview today?
Special. It's in the name. Special effects.
I work so closely with those guys because I do a lot of stunt stuff too. So I'm not a stunt person. I do costumes for stunt people, but I work with them. I work with stunt people a lot. So, and therefore special effects, because it's all intertwined, as you were saying.
I wanted to talk about one thing before we got out of here, because it's going to kind of come up again in our season finale, Tupada. And Chris, since you're here, you could help us elaborate on it. We have talked a little bit in the past about safety meetings in regards to like gunfire and stuff. But can you speak a little bit about like the safety bulletin and the other things that we take the moments for the safety meetings, especially in regards to effects, since that's what we talked about today.
So you literally, you said safety bulletin, and then I had a pang of anxiety because I literally was like, oh God, did I put that on the call sheet? There is no call sheet, and there hasn't been one for like 3 years. But I literally just got, it scared the shit out of me.
I'm so sorry.
I'll never
You're gonna
forgive
wake
you.
up bolting up in your bed tonight, doing the same thing. I guarantee.
Oh God. So yeah, it's a huge part of working with the special effects department, and like we've been very, very lucky in the sense that shout out Matt Kutcher, like his guys are great.
Oh my God,
they're so great, and they kind of because they're so great. They got the lion's share of the work here, and it's not disparaging anybody else. Like Matt has built his business up. He had deep pockets and stuff like that, so he could really train people, and they kind of knew what they were doing. So
yeah, they're always on point.
yeah,
always his
so
guys.
so there was always like a level of trust, which is huge, because if a special effects gag goes wrong, it can go really wrong, and people can actually get hurt and die, legit. So at any rate, there's all these safety bulletins that have to go on the call sheet. And when you have like a big day of special effects, there's literally probably like 100 pages of things that people will never read.
Correct.
But a lawyer has deemed it necessary that those things go out in the event that someone would read that.
Skirting culpability.
We told y'all in
with
that
the-
100 pages that
Yeah.
you didn't read.
With the 4 hours you're going to get off, I'm sure you're going to go home and read 100 pages on.
That guy's been in the PEMO for a long time with that safety bulletin.
Yeah. But you have to, so you attach those things on the call sheet. So it's everything from the atmosphere of smoke, what that is, what it could potentially do to your health, to gunfire, explosions, every little thing, squibs, simulated gunfire, just all of the stuff, what it could potentially do and just, to be aware of it and all that kind of stuff. If there are explosions and things like that happening, ear protection has to be provided to everybody. For some reason, that has fallen on to the responsibility of the props department for reasons that I don't understand at all. But it is.
Sometimes booties are us, and sometimes they're costumes. That's always a weird one as well. When they're like, no, we don't want to have footprints on the set. And sometimes they'll be like props, and we're like, wait, why is that?
Yeah, we push that off as costumes.
Production
off
does it.
Anybody else.
But yeah, you're right. Like earplugs is 100% props, no gray area. That just falls on us. So,
Yeah.
That is weird.
I don't know the
Sometimes hair and
answer to
makeup
that.
has.
They get them from us though to paint them because they want to paint them to the right flesh tone.
Yeah.
And they usually cut them in half to hide them better into the actor's ears. But yeah,
Yeah.
they get them from us.
It's not just benevolence
No.
of them. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Blessed.
Sorry, I'm tired. Yeah, and then like big gags, like so. Let's say on an episodic television show, there's a big gag that's going to be in this episode. You kind of know about it, or you hear about it a little bit, or grumblings about it. The writers did this and that. We all get the episode, we read it. And then, so we're aware that there's going to be a giant explosion and a car is going to fly off a pier or something, for example. I'm just making this up. So special effects will obviously, they'll start to figure out what it is that they need, all the manpower, all the stuff. And we talk about it all during prep, about what it is that they're going to need, how many people, and thankfully, like the budget stuff is usually out of the AD department's hair. You do sometimes have to kind of negotiate and go back and forth and stuff like that. But because the special effects department, if you're going to blow up a car and send it flying off of a pier, something like that, you have to have enough people.
That's not something you want to cut corners on.
Well, exactly. So you have to be able to make it safe. And if you can't make it safe, then it doesn't really happen. Or you're just not going to do it. So there's a lot of things that happen in prep and talking about it and in special meetings and in meetings between, you'll have to set up meetings between like stunts, props, costumes, all the players, all the people that are going to be involved in it on the day. And then when you get to it on the day, now we're going to shoot this car getting blown up and flying off of a pier. We will call a safety meeting on set. The entire crew comes in. And basically, the first day is says, guys, just everybody listen up. Okay, here's what's going to happen. This is going to go on. The car's going to blow up and it's going to get pulled off of the pier and it's going to fly into the water. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over, to special effects and they're going to tell you exactly how it's going to happen. They kind of detail the thing. If it's getting pulled by a ratchet thing, they'll tell you where those lines are, where you can't be, where you can and can't be. Previously, we'll have talked about where cameras can be to capture this because you can't set up where in a danger zone. And then there's always basically at the very end of it, it's like, okay, when we're filming this, the cameras will roll. And basically, they'll go around. There's usually 18 bajillion GoPros, all this stuff. All the cameras have to be up and running. We'll get the word from camera, okay? And then once we get that word, we usually turn it over to the special effects person, the first AD will, and they will kind of call the gag, and they'll say 3, 2, 1, go. We've already called rolling. Everybody's rolling. The whole thing. And there's always variations and weird things like that. Sometimes the first AD will call it. Sometimes the special effects guy that's on set will call it. But it's always a huge, giant deal that you have to try to be where safety is the number one focus.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. Thank you. And the only thing I would add to that, excuse me, is sometimes we're in situations where the public is within range. I mean, they're obviously being held back like by a far distance, but maybe word's gotten out that there's going to be a big explosion or something. Everybody's like, I want to see the explosion. And that's a specific guy I just quoted.
Shout out Markava.
He'll never hear this. But what's also equally amazing from our side of it, if you're ever paying attention, is you can watch that crowd, watch the excitement die away because they don't know how long it takes to set up, check everything, make sure it's safe, then have the safety meeting, then do final checks, then go. I mean, you could be talking about an hour plus at least,
Yeah.
And you'll see people give up and leave. You'll see people getting sleepy. That's kind of one of my little like side joys. It's kind of like watching bad background on something. Like it's just those are the things I like personally. And so
Like they'll go over to Crafty, start peeling banana or something like that, and an explosion goes off. They're like, oh shit, I missed it.
Their banana explodes.
that's actually
Somebody squibbed the bananas.
It's much funnier.
because I have to watch so much children's programming. That's actually in the Pixar Coco. After all the climax of the movie happens, the guy is returning to a seat holding Mexican corn. And he goes, "What did I miss?" It's like literally the entire climax of the movie happens. Anywho's. No, thank you for that, Chris. And for those listening, keep that in mind because when we get into our season finale, that's going to become quite an interesting thing. So what you can't see because we don't have video is I keep pointing at something behind me that's not there. So anyway, any final thoughts on special effects today?
If I missed anything, it's because it's been 3 years. Forgive me.
And it's probably Markova's fault.
I mean, we could have kept going and going. There's lots.
Oh, we definitely
That-
want
yeah,
Justin back and,
for
and
sure.
more effects brothers and sisters. That's a fun department. And Zoe, you look like you're kind of champing at the bit over there. Something on your mind? Something you got to say?
I really got to get this off my chest.
Sweet.
Do you like what we're doing here? Do you have thoughts, comments, questions? Maybe you have an idea or suggestion for topics you want to hear about? Well, you can find us on the intrawebs. You can email us at filmfolklorepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on the social medias, Instagram being Film Folklore Podcast. We have a Facebook group called Film Folklore, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, @The Film Folk. And yeah, thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thanks, everybody.